Assalamu alaikum. This is video 10. Okay, so the black man cannot, the African man cannot resurrect his nation, right? Because he don't know where his phallic is. You need your phallic to resurrect the nation, but you got to get your phallic, and you got to get it. It's in the black woman, right? Okay, it's in the black hole. Okay, so and if you don't have your phallic, right? You can't discharge, right? You can't discharge from the stress. You can't discharge that energy properly. Okay, to de-stress. Okay, to be able to think clearly. You can't discharge the stress from your head, right? That's what the electromagnetic energy does. That's the purpose of it. It helps you de-stress, to discharge that energy, that excess energy, so that you can think clearly, right? You can purify your mind, right? Okay, so it's in Neptune, okay? And you're going to find what Neptune is represented by what? The Virgin, right? The Virgin Mary, the Virgin Miriam, right? Okay, so it's represented by Neptune and Mercury, right? The Virgin Miriam, right? Okay, so that's where you're going to find your power. And that Christianity has been corrupted by Constantine, right? And what was it said? The Ptolemies, and they're supposedly wanting to be the pharaohs or the kings of Egypt, right? And they want to be worshipped by gods, right? So they place themselves as a god and to be the Christ, right? So have the African spirituality worship perceived again through mythology, through a fake lens, through a coffin, right? So in order to do that, you got to take up all those layers of mythology and see and understand they represent the one man, the one universe, the one creator, creation of the universe, the one creator of the universe, as it reflects man and woman, okay, and how they were to live in harmony with the universe, loving each other and loving all of their fruit. Okay, because they were to be fruitful and multiply, right? Can't be fruitful with a fruit fly. Okay? Okay. So, that's how you're going to discharge. Okay? And get your head right. Some good loving, right? It's like some good cooking, good home cooking, good loving, right? So, now, as we said, so the mythology is told, as I said, Osiris and Mother Isis, she tried to find him. She tried to put him back together, but she couldn't find the regenerative parts. Okay, his phallic. Okay, and that's why you have that phallic in front of the Washington Monument. It represents Osiris's phallic, his regenerative powers, his black power. Okay, to regenerate to regenerate the nation, to regenerate life, right? Okay, to resurrect life. And to resurrect himself, right? His nation, his humanity, to resurrect his humanity, right? Okay, so Isis and Osiris are the mother and father of represent the mother and father of the universe, direct and electromagnetic energy, right? Okay, they're not gods, no, they just represented that, okay? And just like direct electromagnetic energy are not gods either. Allah created it when he organized the universe, right? Okay, so Osiris is 14 body parts, okay, were in pieces, right? They were sought by his African sister wife, because that was his companion, his twin, his soulmate, right? Not his soulmate, his twin energy, because she was derived out of him, just like, is part of the body man, right? The woman, Hawa, is a part of the body Adam, right? Because the first woman is named Hawa, for which Hawaii is named after, right? No, it's a paradise island, right? Okay, so his wife, Isis, could not find his body parts. She was unable to find the 13th piece, right, of his dismembered body. That will be his phallic. That will be his Uranus, right? That will be Uranus, that planet. Okay. It was dislocated, right? Okay. Now, so the way they structured the universe and the way they present it, as in the way it's located, and it's numbered, is not proper, right? Okay. So, just like his body was dismembered to reflect what happened in the creation of the universe, right? Okay, so the body parts were, with the exception, as I said, of his phallic was never found. His regenerator parts, the phallic of the universal man, were with the face of the was removed. Okay. The universal man with the face of the sun, because the black man represents the face of the sun. Okay, his face represents the face of the sun. It is this. Okay, it is this event that is told over and over again. It is this event that is the story of time, the creation of the universe, as is told through mythology. But because it's told through mythology, you're unable to recognize it. And the Catholic Church, because they know where it comes from, they're want to lead you to believe that, oh, this is devil worship, that's satanic. But they keep it to themselves because that's like Holy Grail to them. That's the Bible to them. Okay, because they know it's truth. It's just told through a physical form, and then Allah doesn't want it to be shown like that because it's pagan. Okay, it's not the accurate description of how the universe was created, right? Okay. Now, so okay, so as the story of creation is as old as time, because it is a story of time, and it is a true story of the black universe, okay? The masculine universe and the feminine aspects of the universe, okay? And they try to put these two energies at war against each other, when in reality they work in unison to create, right? To manifest physical form, right? As it condenses, right? To which the consciousness of the African man, serving as the head of enlightenment, right? As the sun represents the light in the world, the head of the black man, the consciousness of the black man, okay, as he was taught, Adam was taught, that black clay was taught, right? He was taught that electromagnetic energy and direct energy combined in one body, as the universe was when it was first formed, was taught. He was educated, and it was this enlightenment that was usurped and dismembered into 12 parts, right? Distributed to every man, every nation, other nations, other men of nations, right? Other heads of nations to represent their religion, and they keeping it to themselves through their secret societies, and saying, oh, this is mine, this is my religion, this has nothing to do with Egypt, this has nothing to do with Babylon, this has nothing to do with the universe, this has nothing to do with, this is all separate. We have all these different religions and we're fighting over them, right? We're fighting when all reality we're one story of the universe, but it was divided. This story was divided in pieces of that consciousness, that pieces of the pieces of the body was divided throughout the world of man, all right? Through mythology. Every nation has its mythology, but it all goes back to one, right? The creation of man, the creation of the universe, the creation of the world, right? The creation of the universe, because that includes the world, the creation of the universe, the creation of man, what happened between man, and how he was divided between 2, then 12, then became nations, right? And just like humanity, one's a Pisces, one represents Neptune, one represents Scorpio, one represents Mars, one represents Pleiades, one represents Ophiuchus, one represents Mercury, one represents a nation. Those are nations. Okay, your zodiac sign represents your nation, your tribe, where you come from, right? So, but they don't want you to know that. They want to tell you the zodiac is bad, okay, when they're following it, okay? So it's a consciousness, right? The black clay, when it was formed in man, it was taught, okay, because it represented the cosmos. It represented, and then out of him came the woman, the female, the electromagnetic energy, right? Okay. Now, so and that serves as the woman, right? Okay. Her genital is not represented by Uranus, right? Though it connects to Uranus, right? Okay. That's how those star systems connect, right? Uranus represents the middle ground between the two celestial spheres. The heart consciousness, it would represent the corpus callosum, right? Inside the brain, right? That connecting part, right? The penis of the man, right? Okay. Whereby the two energies interact, right? To manifest, right? It's the in and out, the up and down, the breathing, right? The intercourse of the energy, right? To manifest man, right? Okay. Or life. Okay, so the enlightenment that man was taught was divided between several nations, right? Okay, and then each one claiming it's theirs in different religions and all this, and having war clocks. We want to keep it to themselves because they know that it deals with the original man, the one man, the arc man, the archetype man, and then the black clay man. Okay, and they want to keep it to themselves and then put the black man down and put everybody on top of him to hold him down because they don't want them to know that he is the archetype man, the one with the represents the sun, the one that represents the phallic, the one that represents the King of Kings. They don't want him to know that. They don't want him to know that. Okay, so that's why they threw away that big ass phallic. Okay, and that's why they castrated black men during those times when they were held in bondage, and after the time they were held in bondage, because that phallic represented the original man. The phallic represented the universe. The phallic represented the masculine aspect of the universe, right? Okay. So they didn't want to see that. Okay, they didn't want him to see his power. Okay, so they didn't want him to see that he's the one who has the most power in his heart and his consciousness to connect with Allah and call things into being. They don't want that. And you have that power if you got to utilize it. Okay, so because he has the power to open that crown chakra, right? Okay, they don't want him to recognize that his consciousness represents the universal enlightenment, okay, that was given to Adam, okay, the African man, okay, as I said, serves as the head, the one head, okay, of masculinity, the King of Kings, of enlightenment, and that's why Michael Joseph Jackson is the King of Kings. His legacy, okay, was left for all to follow, okay, of how to live, of a man living righteously. That's why that Vatican tried to put that, only the commercial world tried to put that shit on him of child molesting. No, that's what they do, okay? That's not what the King of Kings would do, okay? The King of Kings he's the father of humanity. He's not the molester of humanity, okay? He don't sleep with his children, okay? He don't have sex with his children, okay? He raises his children, okay? He gives them knowledge, right? Okay, so his legacy is to be followed, and the universe substantiated that because I made the videos demonstrating it, and that's why I follow it. Okay, and that's why I associate myself with the King of Kings, because for one, I am the Queen of Queens. He's the King of Kings, so he is my celestial twin. Okay, what do they call it? We would be that binary constellation, masculine head and feminine head. Okay, so the African man serves as the one head of enlightenment, as it was given to black clay to the man, right? Over all that orbits his universe, okay, in his sphere, okay, meaning it was divided into 12 or 13, okay. He and his twin, the phoenix, right? Which represents the phoenix in one body, one universe, right? Together, connected, govern the all celestial bodies gravitate around, right? Okay. All other constellations gravitate around, right? The constellations gravitate around that, right? Okay, so he was given the enlightenment over all of the planets, right, or the constellations, or knowledge of how the universe works, right, as it relates to orbiting around him, right? Okay, now, and that universe would be his body. The constellations would be his body, okay? They would be part of his body. They wouldn't be his head, they would be his body. But other men, that's why they don't want, when Set distributed the body, right, the knowledge, the consciousness, right, because black man can't find his head. He can't get his head on right, because it's upside down, right? Okay, so, because his phallic is missing, right? His manhood is missing, right? His power to regenerate himself, right? Okay, so he's got to be resurrected. Okay, so the other men are his body, right? His sons. His sons are his body, but they don't want to be sons. They want to be the King of Kings. They want to be the head, right? So they keep the knowledge of the truth about the head of head and who he is, because they don't want him to have power over them. They want power over him. They want power over the King of Kings. That's why you go back to the story of Mars supposedly cutting off Uranus, the head, right? He cut it off, right? Meaning the phallic, the little head, right? The head of the body, the ability to resurrect himself, right? Because they want to be known as kings of kings. Everybody, man, wants to be a king of kings, like in Lauryn Hill's song. Everybody want to be the chief. Okay? Nobody want to be the Indians. They all want to be the chiefs. So they keep that knowledge secret and say, oh, this mythology is my religion and we invented it. This is Zeus, this is planetary, this is it. And all the knowledge in Egypt came out of, it's not Egyptian knowledge. It came out of the knowledge of the constellations and the stars and astronomy, okay, as it relates to the creation of the world in the beginning, right? But they all want to pretend like that's their own invention. It's them. They're the head of that. They're not. They're the body. They are the body. All other men under the King of Kings are part of the body, okay? And all other women under the Queen of Queens are part of her body. And the Queen of Queens is also part of the King of Kings' body. She's part of his body. She may be a head, but she's still part of his body, okay? Some part of the legacy. Anyway, okay, so let me see how far much we gotta go. Oh boy. Okay, so still part of the body. Okay, so the body, the story of Isis and Osiris continues in mythology because the story, well, it was before time, but it continues in mythology, so you don't even see how religion or spirituality has been corrupted, right? Okay, but all spirituality should be in harmony with the celestial sphere. Okay, it should be in harmony. Christianity should be in harmony with it. Islam should be in harmony with it. All of it should be in harmony with the celestial calendar, the events of the celestial sphere, because Allah created that too. Okay, and that's how they knew when Islam came on when Islam was brought into being to teach humanity the truth about spirituality and how the universe works and all this kind of stuff. Despite the Quran has all these miracles in it, these knowledge in it, this truth in it, they don't want to recognize it, but they knew it was truth because they knew how it fitted in. The truth fitted in with the creation of the celestial sphere. They knew that, and they knew Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam could not read, so he didn't have any knowledge of how to obtain all this knowledge, so it had to be divinely given to him, okay, in the mountain of Hira by the angel Jibril, who was aware of everything, right, of what Allah taught him. And okay, so they knew the Quran was true, and that's why you need to get yourself one. Okay, so we said as because the story of because the story is sliced back, packaged, and resold, repeated, re-embodied to suit the image of any aspiring nation, and they always need that black woman to give them life, right? They need to come out of Ra, need to come out the bloody sea, the Red Sea, right? Okay, they got to give birth, right? Okay, so the essence of the phallic was the absence of the phallic was the same as decapitation, surrendering the castration, representing the castration of the first man, prevented him from regenerating himself, preventing him from resurrecting or re-erecting his nation, okay? Because it was taken, and what did they do? They took the phallic and put it in the obelisk, and put one in Washington, one in the Vatican, one in France, okay, just to resurrect their nation, right? Okay, and then the Statue of Liberty, which represents electromagnetic nation, they put it, that represents ISIS, right? Got her chained down, right? Okay, so control of that, right? Okay, so to represent the male nation, right? Dominant nation. And what were the 15 stars, right? The 15 stars of the celestial sphere of America was represented by what? Was represented by stars, right? The 13 colonies, 13 astros, the 13 constellations, depicting the 13 constellations, right? Okay, so. And the 13 bloody, and the stripes were the bloody Red Sea, right? Okay. Okay, so what was that? Okay, so it represents the decapitation, and it was the same as losing his head, which meant there would be no chance in hell the African man would find his way, or find his way to place himself together again, nor would he be able to recognize himself ever again. Okay, thus because because of how he was decapitated, right? And he would never be able to obtain knowledge of himself again, right? because not only that, but once he was decapitated and put inside the fish, right, or the pussy, right, he was severed from his pussy, from his heart, right, so he'd never be able to regenerate or claim his nation again, right. It was claimed by every other and put into mythology, all right. His body parts were claimed by other nations, right. Okay, so it was sliced up. His body, his knowledge, his consciousness was sliced up. They sliced up his holy body, meaning his consciousness, his body, right? It would be rest assured to all those who put purchase of a piece of his body. Okay, like when you go to church, the Vatican take a piece of the body, right? They're taking a piece of the body, right, into their body to become a part of their body. Then they drink of the Holy See. That right, they become a part of the body, right? Okay, so they would become a body. Rest assured that he would the body would never put itself back together again to claim itself. Okay, because everybody else could take claim of that piece of body. They could take ownership of it permanently, because the black man wouldn't know who would ever find out whoever he was, because he'd never be able to regenerate himself, because he'd never have a phallic, right? Okay, so that would be like the birth certificate system. Okay, so once a person accepts that FRID chip, okay, they will never be able to claim themselves part of the body of the spiritual body again, right? Okay, of man, right? They will be a part of that beast. Okay, that beastly system that he created. Now you see him trying to put all the religions back together again. Okay, saying it's all one, because he knew from the beginning it was all one from the beginning, just as it was all one. Okay, and that's why they got that CERN to try to open up that door so that they could bring the beast down further. We talked about that. Okay, so so he would never take claim of his body again, and he would never be able to take claim of his body and say he is man. He is the man. He is the King of Kings. So the black man would never be able to take claim of his body ever again, because his body would be fragmented. Okay, meaning the body of humanity. He would never be the King of Kings again, because his body was fragmented, distributed, and his phallic drawn up, so he couldn't resurrect himself. Okay, and he would never be able to take claim of his body, meaning the universe. Okay, to be the King of Kings. Okay, and stand in his dignity and stand over all other men. That was the game there. Okay, and all other men, his body would always have control over him, right? Okay, that goes back to Satan in the garden, when the Iblis in the garden, when he asked man to intercourse with the woman before it was time, right? He lost his head. He lost the knowledge Allah gave him, and said, don't eat of that fruit, don't touch of that tree. That tree was the root chakra. Don't touch of that tree. And then when Allah came to them again, and they were trying to hide their nakedness, right? Because they seen their nakedness, because they were shown to them when they intercourse with one another, and that's when they were cast away, right? Okay. Okay. So he would never become, not knowing the story, not being in his right mind, he was always trapped in his phallic, right? He was always trapped in the woman, right? The catfish. His mind is always not on the higher consciousness, it's on the lower consciousness. It's always in the woman. He's not in his right mind, right? Okay. So he got to get himself get his phallic out of the woman, out of his mind off the genital, right? And get his mind on divine love. Right, marry the woman, raise his chakra, get in the right mind, and then build his nation again. Right? Okay. So So what did we say? Okay. So all the other nations could claim ownership, because he's not in his right mind. Their part of the body could claim ownership of itself. Right. That's what they meant. Independence, right? What do they call that? They could get independence, right? Of the consciousness. The body, each body part could act independent of the head, right? Independent of God, right? The Godhead, right? So now it's the same, like the birth certificate system. Okay, it stands to religiously claim also. To claim the soul, the body. Okay, the birth certificate system claims the body too, by repressing the soul, by casting it, putting it into a casket, right? A social cask, right? A social casket, right? Whereby it's to function within those parameters, right? And under that caste name, right? That fictitious name, according to the social norms within that caste system, right? Okay, using that caste name, that casket, right? Okay, because their soul is repressed. Okay, so and they're never to be exposed to the true light of day again, right? Buried in the casket. Okay, because the consciousness of the African spiritual body was fragmented and distributed all over the world, divided into 12 constellations, or 12 tribes, right? Among 12 bodies, right? 12 bodies, which the bodies, the planetary body, 12 gods, right? 12 constellations, each man representing his own mythology, right? Okay, so he's representing his own body. Okay, he don't need a godhead. He don't need the sun to represent him. He needs to represent himself. Okay, he don't need the sun to speak for him, right? So each one can speak for itself, right? It don't have to face God anymore, right? Okay. Okay, so okay, and each constellation, as I said, is represented by a man, right? As it has its own mythology to adhere to, its own connotation on the beginning of creation, right? Okay, its own spiritual connotation. Okay, okay. So the body, as I said, was fragmented, just like the spiritual body was fragmented, okay, and distributed all over the world, divided into 12 constellations. The sun represents, though the sun still represents the black man doesn't see that, okay. Some do, many don't. Okay, they don't see that they got to see that they're the King of Kings above all men. Okay, and well, they're the kings, but Michael Joseph Jackson, his legacy, he's been proven to be the King of Kings, right? His legacy, follow that legacy, the King of Kings, and that's the way a person's going to get their soul back, right? And get in the Quran first. Okay, so he doesn't see he's the head of the constellation, and the body planets the planets are his body, the constellations are his body. Okay, they clothe his body. The constellations protect his body, protect his head. Okay, okay. Okay, so the sun represents the head of man, as Uranus represents the phallic of man, as Saturn represented Satan. Okay, so now they're giving the planets godly personalities and godheads. Okay, making them godheads. Okay, so the Saturn represents Saturn, or man with a vagina, right? Okay, the Baphomet, right? The upside down star, which represents woman, right, in her sign. Okay, so so the phallic was cut off, and now it's represented by it's to replace. Okay, Saturn is to replace that, right, as we said, and every spirituality from there took a piece of the body of man. Okay, and thereby just left him with his head. Okay, just his head. Both heads are gone. Okay, because now he has no head. Okay, no body. Okay, he has no body, just a head, right? Okay, okay, and just as we said, as one deity goes out of favor in the constellation, they're 2,000 years over, then it's cut off, it's decapitated by the calendar, right? A Kali. And another Titan steps in, right? Okay. 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 So every nation has a slice of the universal pie represented by their own calendar. Every nation that has its own calendar is based upon a slice of that pie, that black man's body, the Egyptian origin of the universe, the origins of the universe, right? And they have their own tale as it goes, based in mythology. And if you understand, put the characters into place, you'll see there's a trail that all leads back to the Big Bang and the creation of the universe and magnetic energy and direct energy, and divided into two and then 12, and then man coming from woman, coming from man, and the evil in the garden, and all that is all the same. Okay, created by one creator. Okay, and thus okay, they all represent by their own calendar, their own structure of the calendar. The West, they go by the Julian calendar, Gregorian calendar, right? Okay, their own structure of the celestial heavenly black body. Okay, except for the head of the black man, he don't have he don't have his head, right? They don't show that black man's head as the origin of what he represents. Okay, because he represents all men and all other men under him represent his body, right? Okay, so the black man's body, because his 13 body parts were redistributed across the universe, right? Just like the universe, right, was opened up to become 13, and they were distributed across the world. And his inability to find his head, he will never be able to resurrect himself or put himself into a whole body ever again, right? Because it's in mythology now. He can't recognize hickory dickory dock, or the mouse ran over the clock, or any of that crap, the kindergarten rhymes. And then what does that mean? Hickory dickory. I don't know, it's just a nursery rhyme. No, it means something, but they don't tell you what it means, but it's so simple. And then they sit back and laugh. Ha ha, he don't even know what hickory dickory dock means, and we're talking about him, right? Okay, here's the mouse running up the clock can travel. He's the universal clock, and he doesn't see that. The mouse representing his penis, right? Okay, that's the little head. Okay, so he's unable to recognize himself, his consciousness. Okay, so, or his body. He's unable to resurrect his body, okay, and put himself into one whole body again, okay? And because the universe was created to function as a binary solar system, the black masculine solar system has a female, or that's what we said, a female companion. That would be Isis. We're going to go to video 11, okay, because I really want to hurry up and get this.